Good morning. Welcome to Second Parish. Thanks for joining us on this snowy morning. If you're visiting today, please join us for coffee hour. It looks very good. I had a sneak preview. There are a few announcements this morning. The book group will meet today after coffee hour, and the leadership board is meeting next Sunday after coffee hour. Save the date, Tuesday, February 10 for the next ladies' luncheon. It's a Galentine's luncheon. Sounds great. And I think planning is underway for the chocolate auction. I'm not exactly sure of the date, but think of what chocolate treat you might like to donate for that. We're very pleased this morning to have Reverend Paul Sprecher with us. Paul was our minister in the early 2000s for 7 years, and he retired and has been in a few other assignments since then, but we're very pleased to have him back today. Welcome. Are there any other announcements this morning? Liz.
Just a quick plug for the MLK Day celebration tomorrow at 3 p.m. at First Baptist Church.
And the details for that were in the weekly update if you want the details. Any other announcements? Okay, then let our service begin.
Good morning. It's great to be back in this old familiar pulpit. I'm going to patter for a minute or two to make sure Nolan has the volume okay. Sounds okay? I should have done a sound check first, but stuff happens. I invite you all to take out your hymnals and turn to number 442. We're doing a responsive call to worship this morning. Number 442, we bid you welcome. We bid you welcome who come with weary spirits seeking rest.
who come with troubles that are too much with you, who come hurt and afraid,
We bid you welcome who come with hope in your heart.
who come with anticipation in your step, who come proud and joyous,
We bid you welcome who are seekers of a new faith.
who come to probe and explore, who come to learn,
We bid you welcome who enter this hall as a homecoming.
who have found here room for your spirit, who find in this people a family.
Whoever you are, whatever you are, wherever you are on your journey, we bid you welcome. It's time for lighting our chalice. Liz, who's going to light the chalice for us this morning? Deanna. Come on down, let's light the chalice together. Let's join together in the words of our second parish covenant. With love for each other and with respect for each person's search for truth and meaning, we unite to be of service to our neighbors and the larger world. And we're flipping the script a tiny bit this morning because the responsive reading we were going to do after the children left is called Principles and Purposes for All of Us, which includes the kids. So we're going to do that before the story, and take out your hymnals again and turn to number 594, Principles and Purposes for All of Us. Number 594. And what you'll find is that we have our UU 7 principles followed by an interpretation for kids, which we often use in our religious education. We affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person.
We believe that each and every person is important.
We affirm and promote justice, equity, and compassion in human relations.
We believe that all people should be treated fairly.
We affirm and promote acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth.
We believe that our churches are places where all people are accepted and where we keep on learning together.
We affirm and promote a free and responsible search for truth and meaning.
We believe that each person must be free to search for what is true and right in life.
We affirm and promote the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process.
We believe that all people should have a voice and a vote about the things which concern them.
We affirm and promote the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all.
We believe that we should work for a peaceful, fair, and free world.
We affirm and promote respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part.
We believe that we should care for our planet Earth.
Liz, it's time for all ages.
I'm going to flip the script because we missed our opening hymn.
Oh,
I know.
Wait,
I got you.
Wait, let's fix it.
Let's fix it.
Yeah, let's fix it.
I invite everyone
You
to
gotta
stand
sing.
as you are
You
able,
gotta sing, come on.
and sing number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In.
Yeah.
Open your ears to the song.
It's a team effort, really. I invite all my children friends to come up. We are few today, which it's a holiday weekend, and I expected this to be the case. And today we are going to hear, so in the Soul Matters curriculum, each Sunday there are several stories to choose from. And today we are going to read a book upstairs written by Martin Luther King Jr.'s one of his daughters. And here we are going to hear a UU wisdom tale. So the UU has a lot of wisdom tales. It's kind of like Aesop's fables, right? We talked about some of those lately. So today we are celebrating Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He was a man who taught the world to stand up for justice with love and courage. But Dr. King wasn't the only one who practiced resistance and worked to make our world fairer. Many others came before him and helped build the path he walked. People like Fanny Barrier Williams, a Unitarian Universalist whose life reminds us what it means to live our UU value of justice and its call to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression. Let's hear her story. More than 150 years ago, before cars and airplanes, when people traveled by train and women wore long skirts and hats, a little girl named Fanny Barrier lived in New York State with her parents, her brother George, and her sister Ella. Fanny's family went to school, did chores, played in the snow, and went to church on Sundays, just like many families do now. Her dad was a deacon, her mom taught Bible school, and Fanny played the piano and loved to paint. In many ways, her life was ordinary and happy. But one thing made it very different. Back then, many people wrongly believed that some people were better than others, men better than women, white people better than black people, and Fanny Barrier was a black girl. When she grew up, Fanny wanted to study music and art. But when she went to Boston, her classmates said, "We don't want her here. She's dark, so she doesn't belong. If she stays, we'll all go." So the school asked her to leave. So she went to Washington, D.C. to study painting. But there, she had to sit behind a screen so no one could see her. "If the other students know you're here," her teacher warned, "they'll make you go." Over and over again, people told Fanny she didn't belong, not because of who she was inside, but because of the color of her skin. It wasn't fair. It was racism, and Fanny knew it was wrong. When she was older and lived in Chicago, some women invited her to join a club, but others said, "No, if she stays, we'll leave." They argued about it for more than a year. Finally, they voted to let Fanny in, but when she joined, those other women left. Now, Fanny didn't like that. It hurts when people won't let you belong. It hurts when people don't want you around. Some days, Fanny felt angry about it. Some days, she felt sad. But most days, Fanny had no time to feel angry or sad because she was busy making groups of her own. Fanny knew how much it hurt to be left out, and she knew it would be a lot easier and more fun to get things done together with others than by yourself. She and her husband, the lawyer S. Lanning Williams, joined the All Souls Unitarian Church in Chicago. They helped start a hospital where everyone was welcome, no matter the color of their skin. They created a group to study art and music. They helped open a home for girls and created a community center where people of all colors could live side by side. Fanny worked for the women's right to vote and helped found the NAACP, one of the most important civil rights organizations in our country. Bless you. Fanny didn't live to see everything she dreamed of come true, but because she resisted, taught, built, and believed, the world grew fairer step by step. She showed what it means to practice justice, not just wish for it. What I love about this story is how it reminds us that while Dr. King carried the torch in the fight against racism, people like Fanny Barrier Williams helped to light it. Now it's our turn to carry that light forward. Every time we speak up, bear witness to, or help change something unfair, we are practicing resistance against racism, and we are living our UU value of justice. So questions for my children, friends, and maybe adults, because there's only a few kids today. How do you think Fanny felt when people told her she couldn't belong because of the color of her skin?
Sad.
Definitely sad. Any other ways you think she felt? Leander?
A little left out.
A little left out, yeah. Do you think she was ever mad about it? I bet she was.
I think she was mad about it.
I would be mad about it. Would you be mad about it, Jolene? Yeah, I would be too. Have you ever seen or heard something that felt unfair?
That one person has a toy you are using and they took it.
That feels unfair, right? How does it make you feel?
Sad.
Sad. Do you cry? Do you yell?
No.
Do you throw a fit?
No.
Sometimes. Sometimes. Fanny didn't give up, and she made her own groups where everyone could belong. What do you think it means to resist unfairness?
Wait,
Never mind, okay. How about grown-ups help with this one? What does it mean to resist unfairness? Yeah? Try to make things fair? Make people aware, yeah? Speak out. Leander?
Have the same stuff for everyone.
I like that. All right. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. also worked for justice. How were Fanny and Dr. King alike? Oh, yeah, Rose.
They were both black and they both standed up for what's right.
That is the best answer. I'm not even going to ask anybody else. That is right. They were both black and they both stood up for everybody else. Very, very important. What could you do if you saw someone being left out or treated unfairly based on the color of their skin? Leander?
Play with them.
Yeah, you play with them anyway, right? Rose?
Stand up.
Stand up and say, that's not right, right? It's sometimes is really hard to stand up and say, what you're doing is not okay, right? Does it make you a little nervous when you do that? Or when you're thinking about it? For sure, right? But do you think it makes a big difference for the person that we're doing it for?
Yes.
Yes. So tomorrow we don't have school. Most of the grown-ups who work don't have work. And we are celebrating Martin Luther King Jr. and his legacy in the civil rights movement. Now, while it's really fun to have a day off of school, it's also really important to remember what Martin Luther King Jr. did to change things in this country, right? And we still have a lot of work to do that Martin Luther King Jr. and others like him helped start. Okay, so I want you this week to be thankful for people like Martin Luther King Jr. who stand up when there are things that are not fair or not just, and try to do the same when you see something that isn't fair. Stand up and say something about it. Do you think you can do that? Grown-ups, do you think you can do that? All right. Kiddos, let's head upstairs for Sunday adventures.
In every service, one thing will go wrong. We got that out of the way. As the soloists sing, please fill out forms of joys and sorrows and bring forward for that time. Thank you.
When Israel was in Egypt's land, let my people go. Oppressed so hard they could not stand, let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land. Tell old Pharaoh to let my people go. Thus saith the Lord, bold Moses said, let my people go. If not, I'll smite your firstborn dead. Let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land. Tell old Pharaoh to let my people go.
This celebration is a reminder that Unitarian Universalists have long been on the front lines in the fight for justice for African Americans. One of our ministers was a co-founder of the NAACP in 1909, and of course, 1/3 of our UU ministers went to Selma, Alabama when they were called by Dr. King on that occasion, and one minister and one layperson among us lost their lives as part of that struggle. James Reeb was the minister. Viola Liuso was someone in our congregation in Detroit. Concern for my dad as he continues his rehabilitation. I know there are several in the congregation who are ill. Gratitude for this congregation, which has lifted up me and my family this week. Prayers for what's going on in Minneapolis, where there's a call for clergy, much as there was in Selma. Some of us feel free to raise our joys and concerns, our sorrows, our hopes and wishes would we all hold in our hearts a bit of joy from each week, a bit of sorrow. As we settle into a time of prayer and meditation, let's sing together as we remain seated quietly, Spirit of Life.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Move in the land, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Let's join together in a time of prayer and meditation. Spirit of life and love, we gather together this morning in a time of anxiety, when people are killed in domestic incidents by agents of our government. We cannot but fear that more danger lies ahead. We remember Reverend King and his commitment to nonviolent civil resistance, not doing nothing, not standing by and saying nothing, but actively engaging, actively showing the injustice, actively showing the unfairness. And we see the same in the cities of our country. As some of our neighbors are torn away from their families, as injustice seems to be riding freely and destructively. It's not political to say that human beings should not be dragged away. It's not political to say that people should not be shot in their own neighborhoods for simply protesting illegal, unjustified actions. And we have our own lives. There are things in our lives that go well, for which we are grateful. And there are things in our lives and the lives of our family that don't go well. Illness, anger. We take these moments to breathe, to stop, to find peace, so that once again we can move forward, returning to life refreshed, ready to face the difficulties and celebrate the joys. We now move into a time of silence. Breathing in, we breathe in peace. Breathing out, we breathe out love. Breathing in, breathing out. Amen. Let's join together in our shared prayer, the Lord's Prayer from the New Zealand Prayer Book. You'll find it in your order of service. Eternal Spirit, Earth Maker, Pain Bearer, Life Giver, Source of all that is and that shall be, Father and Mother of us all, loving God, in whom is heaven. The hallowing of your name echoes through the universe. The way of your justice be followed by all the peoples of the earth. Your heavenly will be done by all created beings. Your commonwealth of peace and freedom sustain our hope and come on earth. With the bread we need for today, feed us. In the hurts we absorb from one another, forgive us. In times of temptation and test, spare us. From the grip of all that is evil, free us. For you reign in the glory of the power that is love, now and forever. Amen. Time now for our offering and offertory.
Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I am tried, I am weak, I am worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. When my way grows drear, precious Lord, linger near, while my life is almost gone. Hear my cry, hear my call, hold my hand lest I fall. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I am tried, I am weak, I am worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Precious hand, take my hand, lead me home. When the darkness appears and the night draws near and the day is past and gone, at the river I stand, guide my feet, hold my hand, take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. Through all that
The first reading this morning is by the late Reverend Robbie Walsh, who served many years in Duxbury at First Parish there. And I thought that in a time of a great deal of strife and partisanship and division, this particular story was kind of helpful. Robbie grew up in Tennessee. I've heard about a beauty parlor where all the liberal customers made their appointments for Fridays so you could talk about politics, religion, sex, other topics without fear of hostile reactions. It reminded me of being young in the South in the early 1960s when I had a recurrent fantasy of the liberal barbershop. At Brooks Barbershop in my hometown, when conversation moved beyond the local high school football and basketball teams, it tended to be about segregation and states' rights and the possibility of dropping the bomb on the Russians. There was never a dissenting voice. Waiting my turn, I would bury my nose in an old Saturday Evening Post, keep my mouth shut, and imagine what Brooks might do to my hair if he suspected that I favored school desegregation or nuclear disarmament. It wouldn't be like this at the liberal barbershop. It's not that the barber and his customers would have liberal views on everything. They would be liberal. They would express their disagreements about politics, religion, sex, etc., respectfully and treat each other with civility. Though they might believe passionately, they would speak with the understanding that they might be wrong. The customer would feel so safe at the liberal barbershop that he could speak freely about abortion, free trade, the Iraq War, or same-sex marriage, even as the keen edge of the straight razor moved across his sideburns. Maybe it's just a dream. People are people. And yet we are capable of overcoming our destructive impulses. We can build institutions that hold up respect and dignity, peace and reconciliation, institutions that keep calling on us with all our brokenness to live up to those values. I think we could even build a world like that, a little bit at a time. Wise words for a time like this. I'm going to omit the second reading. Once upon a time, a Unitarian kid was walking down the street pulling a wagon full of newborn puppies. As he passed the Catholic church, a pair of nuns came out of the church and began fawning over the boy and his adorable cargo. "What kind of puppies are they?" one of the nuns asked. "They're Catholic," the boy replied. The nuns beamed. They were instantly impressed by the boy. They thought his cute little puppies were irresistible. A few weeks later, the same kid was going down the street, pulling his wagon load of puppies, and he passed the Catholic church again. The same two nuns saw him going by. They ran to the priest and said, "Oh, Father, go out and ask that boy what religion his puppies are. It's too cute." The priest went up to the boy, and in a stern voice, barely covering his amusement, he asked what religion the puppies were. "They're Unitarians," the boy replied. "What?" The priest was shocked. "Yeah," said the boy, "they're Unitarians." They opened their eyes. Now, there are two problems with this story. Maybe 3, 100. Seems a little anti-Catholic. We're a religious tradition in which respect for each person's search for truth and meaning is one of our 7 principles. So mocking other religions, although popular among us and actually, unfortunately, a little characteristic, is actually a weakness. Story's also just a tiny bit arrogant. We Unitarian Universalists aren't at our best when we mock and boast, when we deny those who follow other religious traditions their right to their own search and meaning, for truth and meaning. And of course, this sort of self-mocking is part of how we distinguish our traditions and practices from other paths. So while dodgy, a little self-mocking of our arrogance is occasionally in order. There's, for example, the story of someone in a UU discussion group who said, "Yeah, we have a problem with thinking we're better than everybody else. If only we could get rid of our arrogance, we'd be perfect. The story may be apocryphal, but it does have a slight ring of truth about it. It matters what we believe. It also matters how we believe and how we respond to how others believe. Tolerance is fundamental to our identity as a people of faith. Tolerance was written into our religious DNA 450 years ago when King John Sigismund, the only Unitarian king in history, declared tolerance for all religious belief in the Edict of Torda, 1568. King Sigismund convened a debate between Catholic, Lutheran, Calvinist, and Unitarian leaders and declared that the people of his kingdom would adopt the religion of whichever combatant won the debate. Unitarian Bishop Francis David and Calvinist Bishop Peter Melius prepared to address the question of the Trinity with the king in attendance, and naturally, each man had strong reason to succeed. Melius was in little doubt that he would triumph. "If I win this debate," he told David, "you will be executed." David responded, "If I win this debate, you and everyone else in this country will be given complete religious freedom and the tolerance due to every child of man." Fortunately, David won the debate, and King John Sigismund declared, "I proclaim that every person can follow the religion of their own choosing. No one shall be reviled for their religion by anyone else." And if such a policy of tolerance had been adopted all across Europe, the bloody religious disputes that led to the immensely destructive European wars of religion, which raged in Europe for 200 years, might have been avoided, or at least lessened in ferocity, and as many as 10 million lives lost in those wars might have been saved. But I told you this story before. As it happens, April 23rd will be the 20th anniversary of my first appearance in this pulpit. I was candidating with some trepidation for my first parish, and I told that story. I went back to that original sermon. I called it Roots. The second Sunday of the candidating was Branches, and fortunately, I was asked to serve this congregation. So those of you who were there at that time, I think I see a few of you, who was here when I came for candidating? Yes. So familiar faces from a long time. And in some ways, I wanted to go back to reconsider, after 20 years, my life as a Unitarian Universalist minister. And this is Martin Luther King's Sunday, and normally I would speak of King, but I wanted to look deeper at the foundations of our faith, because it informs not only our memory of the civil rights struggle, which, as I said, Unitarian Universalists were very active, but all of the way we live. And today we're in a time of contention where tolerance for each other's religious and political beliefs is absolutely critical. And the need for nonviolent civil disobedience is every bit as important as it was in the early 60s. So I wanted to go back to that and think about how we could avoid the wars of religion and the wars of politics that have divided us and destroyed so many lives. Unitarian Universalism in Transylvania, as we know, survived centuries of persecutions until they were part of the overthrow of the Romanian fascist regime, the communist Ceausescu in Romania in 1990. And at that point, Unitarian churches and Universalist churches around the country reached out to our fellow Unitarians and made partnerships with them as a way of reestablishing our connection to the very foundations of our faith. And this foundational tolerance is written into our seventh principle. Our fourth principle, which we read together this morning, affirms that we affirm and promote a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. And our fifth principle goes on to affirm the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process. So we believe that every person is entitled to a lifelong search, and that we use the democratic process as part of that search. We respect others, and they, in turn, we ask, respect us. So we believe we're all on a lifelong journey, and as many of you know, I come from a Pentecostal evangelical background, so I have thought a lot over the years about the whole range of Christian and non-Christian beliefs. These aspects of our faith, these beliefs are a particular part of our heritage from the Unitarian side of our tradition. It matters what we believe. So these traditional Unitarian Universalist commitments, we don't believe that such and such is true. We believe in the truth of what we go about, the truth of the earth around us, the truth of the fact that we did not create ourselves, that we're part of communities, that we're part of the earth itself, that we're part of the universe. We are only a part, arrogant as we may sometimes be about it. But they don't provide much about the content of our faith. So religion is one of the many ways that we not only seek but also embody answers to big questions. You could think of the principle as the structure, the framework within which we carry out our own search for truth and meaning. So religion, our religion, helps us to approach questions like these. Where do we come from? Where are we going? What are we supposed to do in our lifetimes? What are we? Do I have a purpose here on earth? What will happen to me when I die, and how then shall I live my life? All of us are affected by the religious traditions out of which we have emerged. Catholics, Protestant, Jews, some have no religious tradition at all, and among us there are others. And reason is one tool as we search for the answers to the questions of truth and meaning, but I don't believe that every question can be answered through the thinking process, through science. And some will never be completely understood by the tools of reason. So we have to make choices based on our beliefs from now on in our lives, not in some distant future when all of the answers will be made. Sometimes Unitarians, especially in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, believe that science would answer all of our questions. Well, good luck with that. There may be a time when we'll know all about it. That's not this time. We're still trying to figure it out. We're still, all of us, searching. There's always the element of the unknown, of the uncertain. What should I do? How should I respond to this event, that event, this insult, this response? And we have to figure it out based on our beliefs and based on our commitments. Try falling in love solely based upon reasoning about it. I think there may have been a television show about some geeky scientific kids who were trying to figure out whether they were really in love by reasoning about it. Actually doesn't work at all. The universalist side of our tradition brings in a belief that couldn't be arrived at by means of reason, the fundamental assertion that God is love. We can find that emblazoned on many Universalist pulpits from their history, including the one at Ferry Beach, our Universalist Heritage Campground and Conference in Saco, Maine, which my late wife Dee Dee and I attended for a number of years. Have any of you ever gone to Saco? Any of you to Star Island, the Unitarian Relief Center? Yeah. It's a great way to spend a few weeks in the summer. Universalism's distinctive doctrine was the insistence that no one will be condemned to eternal damnation, that salvation is universal, that God is love, that love is at the center, as we have on the cover of your order of services. This compassion for all was characterized by Robert Ingersoll as a religion where they believe in a God who leaves the latchstring out until the last child comes home. Thomas Starr King was both a Unitarian and Universalist minister 100 years before we merged our traditions, and he was credited by Abraham Lincoln with keeping California from seceding from the Union with his tireless preaching and speaking up and down the state at the start of the Civil War. He summarized the difference between our two ancestral traditions by saying that Unitarians believe they are too good for God to condemn to hell. There's that Unitarian arrogance again. While Universalists believe that God is too good to condemn anyone to hell. Ambrose Bierce, in his Devil's Dictionary, offered these definitions. Unitarian, one who denies the divinity of a Trinitarian. Universalist, one who forgoes the advantage of hell for persons of different faiths. Bill Sinkford, past president of our Unitarian Universalist Association, took as his personal credo this expression of our twin traditions: one God, no one left behind. And together our traditions are stronger with each other. Our combined traditions call on us to respect both head and heart, to listen to reason, but also to listen to the spirit, whose expansiveness can never be captured in words, no matter how sophisticated. I suspect that some of you may cringe a little bit at the invocation of God in Bill Sinkford's credo. In the past, I have been told by members of this congregation that I too frequently said the word God. In my congregation where I first came to Unitarian Universalism in Ridgewood, New Jersey, a visiting minister spoke about God, and the chair of the parish committee stood at the end of the sermon and said, "In this congregation, we spell God with 2 O's and the devil without the D." Unfortunately, that means that we have trouble listening to what other people say. And so, for many of us, speaking of the spirit of life, something not quite definite, but there somewhere, makes it easy for us to refer to the ultimate, the transcendent, the mystery. So that fundamental universalist credo is a way of saying that whatever God may be, God is love, and love is of God, however we understand that. However we choose to name the sacred, I start prayers with spirit of life and love, for example. We know we didn't create ourselves. We're only a small part of this whole astonishing and mysterious universe. And this sense of mystery is embedded in our 7th principle, which says that we affirm and promote respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part, and reminds us, at this point in our history in particular, that we are not lords of this earth, and that we should not, in fact, destroy the atmosphere and cause the end of the world as we know it. We're marvelous, hence the arrogance, and we're puny. We can use our reason to answer many questions, and still we live in the middle of mystery. We have to have the self-assurance and the faith to make decisions, but we can never be certain that all of the consequences of our action can be foreseen. So to use more traditional religious language from the psalmist, we live a little lower than the angels, suspended between heaven and earth. Rabbi Toa Spitzer provides this image of how we ought to live in this state of suspension. He carried 2 slips of paper, in which one in each pocket. On one he wrote, "For my sake the world was created." On the other he wrote, "I am but dust and ashes." He would take out one or the other slip of paper as necessary, as a reminder to himself to be both proud and humble as needed. So if you thought the story of the little boy held up the real superiority of Unitarian Universalists, you probably should take out the one that says, "I am but dust and ashes." We often disagree with one another, and we're not afraid to say so. So, for example, Unitarians, Universalists approach every subject with an open mouth. Catherine McTee has a more elegant way of putting it. We are not all of one mind when we bring forth our visions of the future. We don't all speak the same language to name what is holy. Different teachers and words of Scripture speak our heart's truth, and yet we gather ourselves together to worship. And in our gathering, we name and honor our differences by which we are made rich and complex and lovely. It matters what we believe. It matters if in our arrogance we believe that we know better than everyone else how to live lives of integrity and purpose. It matters if we believe we can make a difference in this world. It matters if we regard everyone everywhere as having inherent worth and dignity. It matters if we believe that we should not unduly disrupt this sacred web of all existence, of which we are only a small but vitally important part. It matters what we believe. And more than belief, we are called to spiritual practice. These are days when if you spend too much time watching the news, you may get really wound up. You may really get angry. You may want to hit somebody, like maybe some public official or other. And then it's time to take the moments of quiet and meditation, breathing out love, breathing in peace, calming ourselves and reminding ourselves that everyone has the right to be regarded with respect and dignity. By chance, I had the opportunity this past week to review my own beliefs as I approached the 20th anniversary of my ministry. A wonderful grandnephew, brought up in an evangelical religious tradition in which I also shared, reached out to me asking me to respond to a series of questions about my beliefs. He had an assignment from his seminary to speak to someone with beliefs different from his own. He's entering ministry as a Southern Baptist. So he asked me questions about what I thought about God and the world, human nature, and the problem of evil, truth, morality, what happens when we die, and personal experience with evangelical Christians. Here's a summary of our conversation that Zoom AI conveniently produced. Paul and Nathan engaged in a wide-ranging conversation about Paul's religious journey and belief. Paul shared his background as a former Pentecostal who became a Unitarian Universalist, explaining how his experiences and studies led him to question and ultimately reject fundamentalist Christian beliefs. They discussed Paul's views on God, morality, and the afterlife, with Paul expressing uncertainty about specific religious doctrines, while emphasizing the importance of living a good life through ethical behavior and community service. The conversation explored their different theological perspectives, particularly regarding biblical inerrancy, free will, and the nature of salvation, with Paul advocating for a more inclusive and non-dogmatic approach to faith. Nate didn't ask me the final question, so I responded after the conversation as in a response. The question is, what has your personal experience been with evangelical Christians, and how has it affected how you think about them? Have your experiences with evangelical Christians or the church influenced how you view Christianity? If so, how? My reply was, I believe that the catastrophic choice of evangelicals to support Donald Trump will do incalculable damage to the country and to the evangelical cause here. Jesus said, "My kingdom is not of this world." We Unitarians believe that the alliance between Emperor Constantine and the early church was disastrous for Christianity and represented a choice to follow Caesar, not God. Ditto now. Nate replied, "Thank you. I hope he'll take it to heart." Zoom reported the end of the conversation this way: they agreed to continue their intellectual conversations in the future, potentially over deep dish pizza during Christmas, when, as it happens, we'll all visit Nate's wonderful family in Illinois, 4 kids, 5 and under, and a wonderful wife. He's 27. Great kid. We don't know everything there is to know. We don't know the truth with a capital T, but we do our best with what we do know, and we're constantly open to new insights, information, and proof. And since we don't know the absolute truth, We live our lives by our best light, striving to do unto others as we would have them do unto us. Or as Rabbi Hillel said in the years before Jesus, that which is hateful to you, do not do to another person. And of course, we examine critically whatever particular expressions of belief we encounter, but it would be difficult for any of us to disagree with David Rankin's expression of his faith, believing from his meditation manual. I believe in the holy, lifting, sustaining among us, within us, around us. I believe in living with a song to sing, in awe, in adoration, out of joy, out of praise. I believe in loving, in intimate communion, of gentle compassion, and the giving of roses. I believe in seeking, daring to explore, doubting without fear, cautious in certainties. I believe in prophecy, the spirit of outrage, clapping like thunder, healing the world. Blessed be, and amen. We sang Enter, Rejoice, and Come In that first Sunday as the opening hymn. And the second Sunday, we sang our closing hymn, number 311. If you would turn to number 311. It happened that Eleanor Norris, do any of you remember Eleanor Norris? Yeah, Eleanor Norris was a member of the congregation, and she loved this hymn. She said, it made me want to dance in the aisle. And she was, I believe, 90 at the time. So please rise in body and in spirit. We'll just sing, we'll sing the whole thing. What the heck?
Let it be a dance with you. May I have this dance with you. Let it be a dance.
Of the early Universalist tradition in our country offers this benediction. If we agree in love, there is no disagreement that can do us any injury. But if we do not, no other agreement can do us any good. Let us endeavor to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bonds of peace. Amen.